As she walked away, as Janelle left the witness stand, the courtroom stood, not out of duty, but respect. She had entered court not merely as a former wife, but as a teller of truth. A woman who would not be silenced, who produced the one thing polygamy could not distort, figures that did not lie. She didn't smile as she returned to her seat beside Christine and Meri, but she didn't need to. The truth had already been said. And then, Meri would utter the words that no one was waiting for. The silence that had secrets. For the majority of the proceedings of the court, Meri Brown had said nothing. She sat with arms folded as tightly as possible over her lap, her eyes hardly meeting anyone else's. If Christine's words had lit the fire and Janelle's numbers had fanned it, Meri was the calm before the storm, cool, impassive. Even Kody wasn't sure she was going to talk. So when the clerk instructed, "Miss Meri Brown, come forward to the witness stand," the courtroom as a whole leaned forward in their seats. Kody's forehead creased. Robin looked at her husband, perplexed. Even Christine raised an eyebrow. Meri stood slowly, deliberately, and approached the stand with silent strength. A voice reclaimed. She adjusted the microphone with a quivering but intentional hand. "I didn't mean to say anything today," she started. But after hearing what Christine and Janelle experienced, it didn't feel right to be quiet, particularly when my quietness is what brought me here. Her words conveyed more than language. It conveyed history. I was Kody's first wife. We were legally married for more than 20 years. I loved him. I believed in us, in what we were creating. She took a deep breath. So when he approached me and said, "Meri, I need you to legally divorce me so I can marry Robin for the purpose of adopting her children," I agreed. Her voice broke, not out of regret, but out of honesty. I sacrificed my marriage for the family. That was the vow. The sacrifice that changed everything. Meri nodded slightly. But after Robin got the legal marriage, after she had the ring, the name, the papers, I wasn't a priority anymore. I was a memory. He didn't come around to my house anymore. He didn't call me anymore. And soon enough, he stopped pretending. She stared straight at Kody. "You didn't just replace me. You erased me." The room froze. "I spent holidays by myself when you played house in Robin's compound. I was edited out of family photographs. I was told to give Robin time, that her emotional needs were larger than mine. You made me feel my loyalty was my punishment." The Coyote Pass betrayal. Meri dug into her folder and produced duplicates of land deeds. She handed them to her lawyer, who handed them to the judge. "I signed my name on the original Coyote Pass deed. I did it in good faith." Kody explained that it was for tax purposes, that we'd all be included again when the parcels were reorganized. Her tone turned acidic. "But when I asked for the new deed a year ago, my name wasn't on it. Christine was missing. Janelle had been shut out. And I was never reinstated." She confronted Kody now, her voice strong. "Where's my share, Kody?" "There's the bombshell email." The bombshell email. Her lawyer came over with another paper. "This," Meri held up a copy of an email, "is the last I wrote to Kody concerning money. Date February 2022. Here's what he said in it, and I quote, 'It's probably time we stop pretending there's an us when there really hasn't been for a long time.'" There were gasps. She went on. "He said to the public we were working on it. To TLC producers we were counseling. But behind closed doors I was being cut out of every decision." The judge raised his pen once more. Kody shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Robin's eyes were wide. Building a legacy? For whom? Meri looked down at her hands. When she next spoke, her tone was gentler. "I helped raise the children. I worked. I was there during the poverty times, when we lived from paycheck to paycheck. I worked double shifts so Kody could go to church meetings." Her gaze rose, and then, when the money arrived, when the show hit, things changed. "I wasn't consulted about where the money went. I wasn't invited to home purchases or LLC meetings. I learned about Robin's house on Instagram." She turned to the judge again. "Every vow made to me regarding our eternal families became one simple reality. I was used. This it. What she gave, what she got." Meri's attorney posed a question to her. "How much of your own money did you contribute towards the purchase of Coyote Pass?" Approximately $65,000 of my own personal savings, she responded. Primarily from internet sales and bonus payments from TLC. And what do you now possess as your interest? Meri paused. Nothing. No deed. No repayment. No title. Just a text message from Kody indicating he thought I had moved on. She hesitated, then spat bitterly. I guess so did the paperwork. The emotional silence. The judge inquired, did Mr. Brown ever express any willingness to repay or rebuild your claim? Meri replied firmly. No. Never. If anything, I was treated like a ghost. He talked about me in interviews like I was holding on to a dead relationship. But he never gave back what I provided him, legally or emotionally. Robin leaned in once more towards Kody, whispering something. But Kody didn't respond. He seemed stunned. Christine and Janelle sat stiff, hardly blinking. This wasn't merely emotional testimony. This was legal harm. Why? She spoke now. The judge asked, Miss Brown, why did you speak today? Meri hesitated for an extended period of time. When she finally spoke, her voice was firmer than ever. I kept quiet for years because I felt that was noble. I felt being the obedient wife involved swallowing pain. But then I realized, silence works only to benefit the one with power. She raised the email once more. This was the time I overcame fear of speaking out. The judge spoke, writing intensely into his notebook. These are severe accusations with documentation backing asset removal and casual contract violation. We will seek ownership clarification on the Coyote Pass property and examine the chain of deeds. He addressed Kody's lawyer. You will be required to produce all titles, transfers, and communications regarding Miss Brown within 10 business days. Kody's attorney nodded deliberately. As Meri left, there was a moment of quiet. Then surprisingly the room erupted into applause. Not hysterically, not for show, but in mutual comprehension. The judge rapped the gavel. Order please. But the word had already been said. Meri had been silenced long enough. And today she spoke again. That night, Meri posted a note on her social media. Some people believe that strength is never breaking, but I've discovered strength is knowing when it's time to speak. And I'm finally speaking. The post quickly went viral. Comments poured in, you deserved better, Meri. He used you, and now the world knows it. Thank you for standing up. For all of us. In the courtroom, the judge arranged for the next session, where forensic financial investigators would start examining the entire Brown family asset trail. Outside, critics, press, and fans kept arguing. Was Kody the patriarch who was misunderstood, or the mastermind behind decades-long financial and emotional domination? The answer was taking shape in sworn affidavits, in evidence, and in the aggressive stares between past partners, now on opposite sides of a legal war. There was one more session to go. The final gavel was approaching. The courtroom was almost quiet. After 4 days of gripping testimony, on-the-spot collapses, and financial disclosures, the moment of truth had finally come. The judge had retreated to deliberate hours earlier. Now there was only tension, a cloud of it suspended in the air like a thunderstorm ready to burst. On one side of the table were Christine, Janelle, and Meri, not merely as 3 women with common history, but as co-plaintiffs in a case that had gripped the nation. Across the aisle, Kody Brown sat, his face blank, his body hunched forward. Robin, still visibly shaken from the bombshells and silence that followed Meri's testimony, clutched a tissue, wiping away what little was left of the tears she'd tried to hide behind sunglasses outside. The courtroom door opened. The bailiff stood tall. All rise. The judge re-entered, papers in hand, and the entire room seemed to hold its breath. Judge Ramsey pushed his glasses up, sat straight, and gazed across the room. During the last week, he started, this court has heard deeply personal, believable, and well-documented evidence that demonstrates more than breakdowns of marriage. It demonstrates financial mismanagement, emotional manipulation, and potential abuse of jointly owned resources under the guise of spiritual union. He paused, then glanced in Kody's direction. Mr. Brown, although spiritual plural marriage is not legally sanctioned, the extended verbal and financial commitments entered into between you and the plaintiffs are enforceable informal contractual understanding, particularly when complemented by tax returns, witness accounts, and cooperative economic behavior. Kody shifted uncomfortably in his seat. The room was quiet. The plaintiffs, the judge went on, have presented significant preliminary proof of the following: financial exclusion, breaking of informal marital contracts, emotional and financial strain caused by disproportionate asset distribution. He put the file down. Therefore, effective immediately, this court orders the following: a forensic examination of all TLC revenues, endorsements, and Brown Family LLC income from 2016 to the present. The freezing of all Coyote Pass property deals, including sales, leases, and parcel transfers, until complete ownership is resolved. The fair split of all Brown Family LLC holdings, with plaintiff's contribution and time in association taken into account in the final decision. Temporary financial compensation will be assessed after the audit, with potential back pay made according to the result of the audit. And lastly, the judge went on, looking at Christine, Janelle, and Meri. This court is aware that although not legally wedded to all these parties, Mr. Brown acted as a financial and spiritual spouse to each of these women, and therefore bears more responsibility than is contemplated by the formal law. And then came the sound everyone had been holding their breath for. Slam! The gavel of the judge struck the block. There was no cheering, no cries of victory, only a thundering quiet. A storm had passed through, but one that had left wreckage behind. Kody remained still. Robin paled and shook her head, covering her face. Meri leaned forward first, closing her eyes as if trying not to look. Christine breathed one slow breath. Janelle clutched her binder of spreadsheets, but her knuckles had finally unclenched. It was done for the time being. Not solved, but recognized, and for them that was the first bite of justice in decades. As the courtroom cleared, the doors swung open to a sea of blinding flashes and standing microphones. Kody, do you have a statement? Christine, what will you do if the audit discovers fraud? Meri, how does it feel to be vindicated after all these years? Janelle, were you surprised at the ruling? Security held the crowd back as the parties filed out one by one. Kody didn't utter a word. He strode directly to the SUV parked at the curb. Robin trailed after him, tear-stained and out of focus with the cameras. She whispered within the vehicle, "How did it come to this?" Kody didn't respond. Christine, Janelle, and Meri didn't dash for the vehicle. They stood in unison before the courthouse steps, side by side. For the first time in years, they were not sister wives standing as a unit fighting to be relevant in a broken home. They were separate entities, survivors tied together by reality, not a man. Christine addressed the reporters and spoke calmly. This isn't about revenge. This is about accountability, about dignity, about reclaiming what was taken from us, not just our money, but our voice. Janelle added, "We believed in something that failed us. Now we believe in ourselves." And Meri, long the silent one, simply said, "He used all of us, but we're not broken anymore." The cameras flashed again, and this time it wasn't for drama, it was for history. As news of the ruling spread, media outlets exploded with headlines. Judge slams Kody Brown in family court, assets frozen, audit ordered. Sister wives speak out. We're survivors, not victims. TLC faces backlash. What did they know about Brown family finances? Viral TikTok videos of the ruling. Reaction videos flooded in. One influencer commented, "Janelle brought the spreadsheets. Christine brought the emotion. Meri brought the bomb. Kody brought nothing." Podcasters referred to it as the real courtroom finale of Sister Wives. Brown family trial trended on Twitter for 3 consecutive days. The forensic audit would take months, maybe a year. Investigators would sift through stale TLC contracts, LLC organizing documents, emails, texts, and property deals. Attorneys anticipated this to drag on into several hearings, possibly even result in civil fines or fraud charges if there was found to be trickery. But meanwhile, the women had established a legal presence. They'd moved from being quiet wives on a dying TV show to plaintiffs authoring new narratives in court. In their home, Kody sat solitary in his study. The folders, the financial records, the family albums, all were strewn about the floor. He'd made a fortune on the concept of oneness, of plural marriage, of leadership based on faith. But when taken away from that mythology, this was what was left. One man, 4 wives, and now 3 women lined up against him, with the law behind them. He glared at the camera placed by TLC years earlier, and for the first time, he pulled it out of the wall. Christine returned to Utah and launched her own women's empowerment foundation. Janelle started a financial literacy podcast for women leaving religious communities. Meri published a memoir titled, Used My Journey from Devotion to Dignity. And all three declined to return for another season of Sister Wives. We've told our story, Christine said. Now we're living the rest. TLC, under pressure from fans and media, released a statement, we respect the privacy and strength of all individuals involved, and will work with transparency moving forward. Their legacy changed. In the end, the court didn't just issue a ruling, it issued a reckoning. It recognized what some had long suspected, behind the smiles and monogamous facade of Robyn's growing power, there was a quiet unraveling, constructed on the backs of three women who had given up their own identities for a dream that no longer served them. The gavel did not simply establish order, it established freedom, and for Christine, Janelle and Meri, that was sufficient. It was a typical Thursday morning at the Flagstaff residence of Kody Brown. The coffee was fresh, the Arizona sun had just started to peek over the blinds, and Robyn was walking back and forth in the hallway on the phone with their family attorney regarding a zoning problem with the Coyote Pass property. Then came the knock. A dull, deliberate knock, 3 times, firm, measured. Not a neighbor, not family, the kind of knock that immediately makes your stomach tighten. Kody opened the door. A tall man in a gray suit stood expressionless, holding out a thick manila envelope. Mr. Kody Brown? Yeah, Kody replied, cautious. You've been served. The man spun without a word and headed back toward his car. Kody gazed at the envelope in his hand, excitedly warm from the sun. In bold black ink across the top, it screamed, Salt Lake County District Court, summons to appear. The envelope that held years of pain. Kody slowly shut the door behind him, the envelope's weight in his hand heavier than it was supposed to be. He returned to the living room, where Robyn was no longer on the phone, and observing his each step. What you got? She inquired. He didn't reply right away. His gaze swept over the contents of the paper. The plaintiffs' names knocked him flat on his back. Christine Ruth Brown, Janelle Ann Brown, Meri Caroline Brown, all three, together. He collapsed into the couch and read the charges. Breach of verbal marital contract. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. Financial misconduct involving Coyote Pass and TLC revenue. Robyn's hand leapt to her mouth. Are they suing you? They're suing us, Kody said, with bitterness. But predominantly me. Seth? Behind the legal jargon, years of hurt and mistrust. The charges were not merely legal jargon, they were memories. Wounds. Christine had departed first. After decades of being unseen, unheard, and unvalued, she vanished in 2021, opting for peace rather than pretense. Her exit was scripted on television as equal empowerment, but in private, she was wounded and angry. Angry that she had contributed to purchasing the land, but never became an owner. Angry that TLC checks vanished into pockets she never held. Janelle trailed behind, but resolutely. She'd been the backbone for the family financially for years. The one who followed receipts, balanced expenses, assisted the wives in budgeting. When she noticed money being reallocated, apparently for Robyn's sake, without acknowledgement, she spoke up to Kody. He dismissed it. Months after, she also walked out. Then of course, there was Meri. She had suffered public shame, online criticism, and emotional abandonment. For years, she had held on to hope. But over the last few months, she'd come to realize her devotion had only served others. She had given up her legal marriage so Robyn could wed Kody for the kids. That act now seemed like a betrayal she'd consented to. The walls crumble, inside the Flagstaff home. That night, Kody summoned an emergency meeting with his attorney. Robyn was beside him, her face white. His youngest child asked Daddy why he was so sad. He did not reply. The attorney confirmed it. The women had brought a civil suit in Salt Lake County, where the original family business, Brown Family Entertainment LLC, was incorporated. Although they were now residing in Arizona, jurisdiction stayed with Utah because of property affiliations and money arrangements from the show's previous seasons. This is not a personal disagreement, the attorney explained. They're suing for breach of an informal but enforceable agreement on joint income, division of land, and emotional damages for unequal treatment. Kody rubbed his hair in frustration. In English, what are they saying? They're saying they're going after your money. The property, possibly even historic TLC profits. And if this gets out, it's going public. Robin interrupted. Everything goes public. Fallout starts. The following day, TLC producers called. We've received a call from Christine's rep. She indicated that the court records will be unsealed next week. Should we prepare for something? Kody did not say anything. Robin answered. We'll have something to say. It's family. It's emotional. It'll blow over. But it wouldn't blow over. Because what was arriving wasn't merely a statement, it was a courtroom drama with national headlines. Christine's attorney released a statement. Miss Kody Brown, along with Miss Janelle Brown and Miss Meri Brown, has filed suit for accountability, transparency, and rightful financial justice for decades of unpaid marital contributions and withheld assets. And suddenly, it was everywhere. TMZ, Us Weekly, People, Reddit, Twitter, TikTok, #Sister Wives lawsuit started trending. The legacy rewritten. For more than a decade, America had been watching the Browns brag about unity in chaos. A family united not only in faith, but with a common goal to defy the norms of society. But now, their narrative was being rewritten. No longer was Kody the patriarch misunderstood with 4 complex relationships to juggle. He was the defendant, indicted by the same women who had referred to him as husband. Every wife's name meant something. Every single one of them had supporters, followers, and fans standing behind them. And for once, it wasn't rumor. It was courtroom-honored fact. Court records. Actual repercussions. What shattered the silence? In interviews that emerged just days following the summons, Christine shared in a podcast, "We tried to keep things out of court. We really did. But when you're erased from the story, when you're told you don't matter anymore, it's not just heartbreaking, it's infuriating." Janelle said, "I'm not angry about the divorce. I'm angry about the manipulation, about being told we were all equal when we weren't. Not financially, not emotionally." And Meri? Her words hit the hardest. "He told us we were creating a legacy, but I was creating his, not mine." The day of court approaches within a week. The date was scheduled. Christine, Janelle, and Meri would travel to Salt Lake City. So would Kody, and potentially Robin if she was included in the audit. Courtroom portraits were being conceptualized. TLC fans wondered if cameras would be in tow. Some even cracked, "This is the season finale we didn't know we needed." But to the Browns, it wasn't television. It was actual, legal, personal. And to Kody Brown, the knock on the door wasn't the start of a lawsuit. It was the start of accountability. Kody Brown stood when her name was spoken, the courtroom falling silent with only the sound of the witness stand creaking beneath her weight. Her footsteps ringing out, a reminder that for the first time she was walking to a family meeting, confession couch, or TLC camera. She was walking to the truth. As she sat, her lawyer gave her a reassuring nod. Across the room, Kody sat with a tightened jaw, arms crossed. Robin leaned in to whisper something, but he didn't respond. Christine adjusted the microphone. Her hands trembled, not with fear, but with long-contained fury. "I never thought it would come to this," she began, voice low but steady. "But I'm here. Because this silence we've all carried, it's destroying us. The invisible work of a sister wife. I was with Kody for more than 25 years. She went on, glaring at the judge. "And in that time I raised children, his children, while he bounced back and forth between houses. I homeschooled. I prepared meals for 20 people. I gave birth without him present, more than once. I made it all work." Quietly, her voice broke and she paused before going on. "I never asked for diamonds. I never asked for extravagance. I asked for fairness, for respect. And when TLC began filming us, we were told we were a family, that the show money would go into the family pot, that we were going to build a legacy together." She stared at the courtroom, her voice growing louder. "But I never saw the books. I never saw the statements. The legacy? It went into one house, one wife, one name, luxury for one, sacrifice for the others. Christine dug into a folder her attorney had put together. She displayed photographs side-by-side photos of Robin's Flagstaff home. Modern, roomy, with intricate ironwork and a basement fully equipped. This was purchased in 2019. Cash up front. The same year we had to postpone plumbing on Coyote Pass because Kody told us we were tightly funded. Gasps whispered in the rear of the courtroom. Christine went on, I was living in a duplex rental with busted heating. My daughters were sharing a room, and we cooked on a single eye of a stove. But Robin had a home theater, walk-in closets, and a $9,000 chandelier. That chandelier could have gotten us 6 months of clean water access. She addressed the judge. That wasn't inequality. That was fraud. Follow the money. The TLC checks her attorney came over with a new exhibit. Highlighted banking documents illustrating deposits made from TLC and outgoing payments to a private management company under Robin's name. Christine clarified, we never employed a manager. That company? That is Robin's cousin. Kody said it was for tax reasons, but the money didn't return to us. The courtroom went silent once more. The judge leaned forward. You're saying you received no disbursements from these proceeds? Not unless I asked, Christine answered. And when I did, it included lectures. We have to be responsible. There's a plan. But that plan wasn't for me. I knew later, I was meant to smile for the cameras, raise the kids and stay out of money. She drew a quivering breath. That's not a partnership. That's exploitation. The emotional toll on her children. Christine's eyes grew tender as she dipped into her folder once more. She produced a crayon picture, plain, bright, clearly by one of the smaller children. My daughter drew our dream house once. She stuck it on the fridge and said, one day, Daddy will build this for us. She stopped. That picture hung on the fridge for 4 years. And whenever he said he'd come to talk to the builder, he didn't show up. But Robin's builder? Twice a week he was there. She gazed straight at Kody for the first time. She sobbed the day she knew she'd never have that house. And I sobbed the day I knew I was still making excuses for you. Kody averted his gaze. Robin held a tissue. Coyote Pass. The dream turned battlefield. Christine explained the chronology. 2018. All the wives agreed to sell their Las Vegas houses and pool funds into the purchase of Coyote Pass property. 2019. Kody promises them each a home there. Equal. Fair. 2020. Robin's house bought outright. Construction on nobody else's property starts. 2021. Christine requests to construct. She's refused because of zoning problems that somehow didn't plague Robin. The land was supposed to be the new beginning, but it became a monument to broken promises. The judge inquired, are you saying the oral agreement on equal division of land was never fulfilled? Christine's tone was steel. It wasn't just never respected. It was erased. I contributed to the purchase of that land. I was omitted from the new deed without my permission. Robin's lot, triple the amount. And who signed off on that? Kody, solo. The breaking point. Christine sat back, her breathing finally level. I left Kody in 2021, not because I didn't love my family, but because I didn't know who I was anymore. She took a pause. I was a mom, a chef, a teacher, a builder, and a believer. But to him I was expendable. Returning to the judge once more, she finished, I'm not here for revenge. I'm here for acknowledgement, for respect, for accountability. We weren't only emotionally abandoned, we were stolen, financially, spiritually, and personally. And I'm here to take back what I've worked for. In reactions in the courtroom, Janelle, sitting just behind the witness stand, nodded slowly. Her arms were crossed, but her eyes were glassy. Meri looked down, inscrutable. On the defense team, Kody massaged his temples, a furrow deep between his brows. His normal fiery oratory was missing. Robin grasped his arm, but he pushed her away. The judge finally, thank you, Miss Brown. Your testimony has been heard and will be considered along with the evidence. Please return to your seat. Christine got up, dignity unbroken. She walked back to her seat, and the courtroom murmured as she passed. Not in judgment, but in respect. The aftermath of one voice as the court recessed. Journalists hurried out, jostling for quotes. Christine didn't pause to talk, but later in a tape-recorded interview, she stated, this wasn't just about the money. It was about finally being seen, being heard. For the first time in 25 years, I felt free. Online fans were already deeming her courageous. TikToks went wild. Memes poured in, some mocking Kody, others making Christine a symbol of post-polygamy strength. But in the courtroom, the tempest had only just started. Tomorrow it would be Janelle's turn to testify, and her evidence would not only corroborate Christine's, it would reveal the numbers. She didn't come with emotions. She came with evidence. When Janelle Brown stood to come to the witness stand, the atmosphere in the courtroom changed. No anger in sight, no sobbing, just calm, trained resolve. Clutched in her hands was a navy blue binder, containing printed spreadsheets, receipts, and signed documents. This was no mere testimony. This was an audit of finances, and she had conducted it all on her own. Christine nodded quietly at encouragement. Meri looked up from her chair. Even Kody appeared uncomfortable now. When Janelle set down the binder and moved the mic, the courtroom fell silent. "I will not take long," she started. "But what I have to say is fact. Trace the money. The cold hard facts." Janelle set the binder down and waved the first spreadsheet aloft. "This is a list of all direct deposits by TLC to our family LLC over the years 2016 to 2022, she said, turning to a page marked yellow. "Here monthly payments, ranging from $35,000 to $60,000, depending on the season. These were intended to be divided equally between the spouses." She turned the page again. "And here are the outflows, withdrawals, personal checks and transfers withdrawn from the main mutual account." The judge sat up straight. Kody's lawyer furrowed his brow. Janelle stabbed the sheet. $157,420.18. That's the balance of unauthorized or unaccounted withdrawals. Money that didn't spend on any shared expenses, nor on property, children or bills. The one-card mystery. She addressed the judge. "Kody told us we were all equal partners. But in fact, there was just one card connected to this account. And it was in Robin's name." A soft gasp ran through the courtroom. "I found this out when I tried to use the account to pay my rent after I moved out. The transaction was declined. I phoned the bank. They informed me only the main cardholder had rights to authorize large withdrawals." Her words were steady, but cut deep. "That's when I knew. We weren't merely unequal. We were locked out." Selling her own belongings to survive, Janelle stopped for a moment before going on, clearly collecting herself. "I left with barely enough to pay first month's rent." Kody said it wasn't personal. It was just a hard time financially. She smiled with a dry bitterness. "But somehow, in the midst of that hard time, Robin managed to purchase new furniture. I know because my daughter helped carry it in." There were some guffaws in the back of the courtroom, clamped instantly by the judge's gavel. "I sold personal items to continue. Furniture, jewelry, even my truck for a couple of months. I carpooled with my son to work, all while observing Robin drive a new SUV purchased with family money." She looked at Kody. "You told us we'd retire together, that we were creating a future. What we created was a fantasy for you, and a nightmare for us. Exhibits that couldn't be denied." Janelle's attorney gave the judge a USB stick and a printed document. "These are payment wire transfers, online banking records, emails from TLC with payment amounts, and notarized family members' statements." The judge scanned some documents in silence. Kody's attorney whispered something to him, but Kody pushed him away. Janelle went on, now turning to a particular page. "This is from March 2019, a $12,000 withdrawal titled consulting fee. No trace of who received it. Robin's cousin is the consultant listed. No one else was told." Another line, August 2020, $6,800 for home wellness equipment. Robin said it was a massage chair for her chronic pain. Meanwhile, Christine's kids didn't have functioning air conditioning that summer. The judge raised an eyebrow. "Did any of the other wives approve these?" Janelle shook her head. "No, and when we questioned, we were said, 'Don't worry, it's all taken care of.'" Tut. The moment she knew it was over, the judge sat back. "Miss Brown, what led you to file suit?" Janelle responded without pause. "When I discovered a notice in the mail that Robin and Kody had refinanced their house, but placed the family LLC in collateral, that's when it hit me. I had nothing, not a signature, not an interest, just my name on a tax return and a whole lot of verbal assurances." She stopped. "I was faithful to Kody for 30 years. I gave him 6 children. I worked. I taped. I handled our family finances for years. I deserve better than an empty bank account and broken vows. Tut. Kody's defense falls apart in silence. The judge swung around to the defense table. Mr. Brown, is there any written counter-evidence or explanation of these outtakes? Kody's attorney hesitated, then looked at his client. Kody opened his mouth, but no words escaped. Instead, he looked at Robin, who turned her head away. The lawyer, after a pause, said, "We reserve the right to reply in writing after full discovery, Your Honor." The judge nodded, but the implication was clear. They had nothing in hand to account for the vanished $150,000. Reactions in and around the room. Christine put her hand over her mouth, trying to hold back tears. Not of anguish, but vindication. Meri, once detached, gazed at the binder in Janelle's hands, as if it were a sword she had wanted to use years ago. Robin sat shell-shocked, hands folded, lips shaking, and Kody, he was defeated. Not raging, not outraged, just empty. Like a man standing by and watching the empire he'd built, on smiles, trust, and lies, finally crumble under the pressure of facts. Public reaction. The court of opinion speaks outside the courtroom. The media swarmed. Excerpts of Janelle's testimony were analyzed on TikTok, YouTube, and podcasts. Her fans lauded her as the accountant of justice, and captioned her testimony, "The day the math didn't lie." One popular tweet said, "Janelle didn't show up to cry, she showed up to balance the books." Sister Wives Court. Within Sister Wives Reddit communities, one writer posted, "Christine sparked the fire. Janelle just showed up with the gasoline and receipts." The power of her quiet, relentless logic shook even longtime critics. The judge's response. Before dismissing the day's session, the judge made a short but impactful statement. Preliminary evidence strongly suggests an imbalance of financial transparency and control within the shared assets of the Brown family LLC. I'm ordering an expedited forensic audit of all family accounts and properties dating back to 2016. The gavel slammed down. Kody exhaled sharply. Janelle's hands finally ceased shaking.